This is a video on how I repair the Turtle Beach EarForce XP7 multi-platform headset. The most common problem with these headsets is one side, either the left or the right speaker, will go out. The microphone can also stop working. This is due to a bad design on the small cable coming from the left speaker cup. This wire has the 6-pin DIN connector. The wires inside are very weak, and if you put too much pressure on the DIN connection as you take it off and put it back on, you can destroy your headset. Well, this is my fix. Okay, you want to lay your headset flat, and now when it comes to taking off the ear cup, you want to take off this left side. This is where your wire's connected, so all your wiring's in here. So you just kind of push in with your finger and lift up and out. Simply peels away and reveals the plastic beneath. You put this away so you don't get it ruined. Generally, I'll take off both sides because while I'm soldering, I don't want to damage this other ear pad. So the same thing goes. You push up and away, and it just peels right off. Now underneath here, you'll find 4 screws. They're Phillips head. They're kind of tiny. You can kind of see the indentions right there. You simply go in there, take those 4 out. Be very careful when you remove the speaker from the plastic because of the small wires that are connected to the back of it. You don't want to go pulling those out, which I'll show you in just a second. Okay, and the last one comes off. So, like I said, you lift this up. Just be careful. Put it to the side, just like that. Now, if you want, you can come in here and desolder these points and pull the wiring out. That way this can be laid somewhere else while you're working. So next thing we're going to do is take off these 2 screws and pull this circuit board up. It's got 2 little plastic holder pins in there, guide pins, so make sure you don't break those off. Just pop it straight up. Okay, just kind of put your finger up under here, give it a little pop up. This one's being a little difficult. Move this wire out of the way. Okay. Pop. Alright. Now this has 2 main wires connected to it. You got the small one here on the bottom that's in the channel. This one goes to your microphone. Kind of fits right here in the plastic channel right there. This other one, this one goes to our problem cable. And that's the one that we're going to be working on. Okay, now before you go taking this cable off, you want to make sure you get the pin out. So you write this down. Now this outer ground is not connected to anything. The first hole, this here on the bottom right, is to your microphone positive side. The second hole above that goes to your microphone ground. Now this third one up, it's not used at all. There's no wire connected to it whatsoever. Now the one to the left of that is your right side speaker. Now this one here, this is your ground to both speakers. And then of course the one at the very bottom left, which goes to the left speaker. Now if you follow this, you can write down the colors of the wires that are connected so that you know what you're hooking up. But if you look closely on this little board, it's actually written microphone, positive, negative, speaker left, right, ground. So if you write all the colors down, you write where they're at. This way, when it goes to putting in the new wire, you'll know right where they go. Okay, now that we've removed the wires from the small circuit board, you can see that I left enough solder on there to where we can just easily heat it back up and stick the new wires on there. They're very, very skinny. This is why it's so easy to break. They're just so fragile. So the next thing we're going to do is pull this metal pin out right here at the end. Just take a pair of needle nose pliers, go down there, hold onto the cup with your left hand or right, and then wiggle it back and forth until you get the clip out. This makes it to where you can pull the troubled wire right out of the air cup. Now this entire piece will be replaced except for the little plastic end right here and the little black piece that it slides onto. We'll be drilling that out after we cut off the wire. Okay, now before we go tearing this thing apart, let's make sure that the cable is actually bad. So get yourself a meter. Basically, I set mine to a diode setting or continuity setting so it beeps when there's a connection between the two leads. I get me a small pin to put inside the connector, and then I take this pin, I shove it down into each hole, and because I already know the pin out, I just simply touch one lead to the pin and one lead to the end of the wire. If it beeps, the wire's good. If it's not, the wire's bad. I'm going to continue going through each one of these until I determine if the cable's good or not. And so I just keep on going through it, and I'll let you know what happens when I'm done. Okay, I've come to my suspected lead that I believe is bad. I've put the pin into the bottom left hole, which is connected to the blue wire, which is the one that I suspect is bad. And I'm going to simply touch here, touch the end of the wire, and yep, nothing. No continuity at all. Now this is telling me that the wire is bad. There's no way to know where it's bad. I just know it's between here and here. So this cable is no good. It's not salvageable. There's no seam to split it open, fix it, nothing. It's just pretty much worthless. Okay, here are my two cables. Now what I have to do is I'm going to have to sand this one down. Okay, yeah, sanding. It's crazy, huh? Reason why is because it's 4 millimeters thick and the factory wire is only 3 millimeters thick. That means that it's not going to fit through my headset connector unless I sand it down. Now I'm going to mark this with the red tape, and this shows me that I don't have to sand anything past this line. Now I plan to sand down just enough of the last 2 inches of the wire in order to fit it into that rubber connector at the end of the ear cup. I'm going to just lay this thing out straight, bend that there, and then I'm going to take the sanding block and just run down it just like that. And I'm going to roll it with my hand just like that, so I can try to take away even amounts all the way down the length. I'll be using my calipers here to test the thickness of the wire as I go on. Now once we get this thin enough to go through this plug here, we'll be ready to put on the 550 cord sleeve, glue it in place, and get it done. So we just snap that off. And now after we snip that off, we go to the other end and we snip it here. Don't need it. It'd be nice if I could use this, but it's pretty much worthless. We're going to take drill bits, tiny, and then just step up, step up, step up until we get the hole big enough for our new wire. Alright, these are the 4 drill bits. I'll probably be using one more, but I'll successfully get larger and larger to drill this thing out. Now the lower half of this is a soft rubber. The upper part is a harder rubber, so you got to be careful you don't twist the soft rubber off while you're drilling this hole. This is all there is to it. Just be careful you don't twist that rubber part off. Okay, you sand this down until you get it the size you want it. Remember to keep rolling around so you get the same amount taken off all the way around it. Okay, this is our wire strip back. This is our piece of 550 cord that we're going to use. Okay, we've taken the insides out of the 550 cord, slipped it over the wire. Now I'm going to heat the tip, melt it up a bit. This is what it looks like after I'm done. I put hot glue on the cable before I slipped the 550 cord over the cable. This way, when I heated the ends, it melted the glue and it stuck the 550 cord to the cable. Just slide that plastic connector on there, and once you do, you use the small flat tip screwdriver to shove the 550 cord up underneath the rubber part. And that's all there is to it. Now let's get this wired up. So you got the old plug, new plug. As you can see, we put the metal clip back in. Now, I've already done a pin out on my wire, so I know what colors of wire go to what pins. So I'm just going to go ahead and solder these onto the little board. Now, if you're going to be soldering, make sure you got proper ventilation. You don't breathe in the smoke that comes off the solder or anything. Be careful not to burn yourself. Remember, you do this, it's your responsibility. Just be careful. Okay, this is it with it all soldered in there. I've still got to put in the small little screws. I've already laid the microphone wire down its channel. I've already, right there, and I've taken the other wires and I've kind of looped them in and around the plastic parts in here to make it nice and neat. Kind of goes up and around here, and it goes up behind the board and then goes up to the top part of the solder connections. And this here is your other side speaker, so you make sure that's down inside the little channel. Comes up and around the other piece of plastic here, but make sure it's all nice and neat before you put the cup back together. Okay, screws in. A quick note on these: if you ever open one of these up and the wire is missing from this connector right here, it's because you have a demo model and the microphone is not hooked up. You'll also know this type of model because there's no serial number and the end of the cable is not a 4-pole connector, and so the microphone will not work. There won't be any actual microphone in the end of there. It's just an empty shell, and so don't be tricked by that. Make sure you get a real one. Also, the pinout on these microphones, it's not what you think. The base is nothing. The second pole in the middle there is actually your ground, and your tip is the positive lead. Okay, and you just fit your speaker back on here. Make sure you're careful when you put this on because there's a lot of locking points to where you can put it on there and it's not really fitting right. Just look through the little holes and make sure the little plastic holes underneath line up. Okay, and that's it. The air pads have been slipped back on. Here's one that I fixed just now in this video, and this other one in the background is one I fixed the other day. The big difference between the out of factory and my fix is that the DIN plug at the end does not snap into the one that goes to your audio control unit, which is okay. I mean, when you put them together, I sit and play for hours. It never gives me a problem. I'm very careful with my headset, so this fix will work for you. If you have any questions, post them down in the comment section. And thank you for watching.